I'm Van.
I'm Sorry.
That's Sparky.
And Salty and Chip.
You should call yourself Oppressedy.
Yeah.
Did I tell you?
I'm oppressed.
It's time for one of the white knights for the Latino. He's a Latino white knight. Shout out to the big homie. I guess I'm not gonna say. I want to be a good sport. Email me. It is an interesting dynamic, you know, when people, we've done like 300, almost 400 videos, so it's like.
Oh, is it really up that high?
Yeah, I think it's like 300. I don't know.
I thought we were at like 250.
But there's a lot of material to psychoanalyze, you know. Mm-hmm. So anyway, shout out to Mayhem. Also, shout out to OTEP. We're going to be releasing the OTEP interview in all of its glory pretty soon. I don't know. Did we decide if we were going to stagger it or if we were going to...
I was just going to release it all out because you know why? You're the type of person that could listen to part 1 and then come back 6 days later and listen to part 2 and remember part 1. I'm not like that. I got to do it all in one shot or else I'm going to forget. So, you know. Okay. This is when we're going to... People like me are going to appreciate it. It's going to go boom, boom, boom. We're going to release 3 parts.
The OTEP interview, which also includes the song review we did with her.
Right.
We actually did a review with an artist.
Song review will be part 1.
We're on the next level.
Yeah.
That's some next level shit. I don't like to toot my own horn, but that I will say.
I know, that was such a unique idea. Who came up with that anyway?
I think that was me.
I'm not sure. I think it was me.
So that was pretty cool. Shout out to the big homie OTEP, who was unbelievable to us. So that's been our most successful Patreon video. Like, we release stuff early on Patreon, and like I'll check the views. It's like,
yeah.
But like that one was huge, like lots of views on that already. So which actually makes me happy because Patreons, email us, let us know what other things that we could do to make the thing more appealing for you because. I really want to make it exclusive content for you guys. Somebody mentioned something about like the day in the life of Vin and Sorry or something like that. I just feel like there's so much content about us already that they would just be completely bored with that. But anyway,
I would think so too. What do they want? Like a video? Like we just kind of you take a couple videos.
Somebody
of yourself?
randomly said it. Like we were playing miniature golf yesterday, and I was killing everybody. You know,
he won by 5 points, 5 strokes. 5 strokes, that's it.
I was going easy on her.
That's not true. I got 2 hole-in-ones.
Alright. This is Slipknot.
Oh, you don't want to talk about those hole-in-ones?
This is, I mean, they're not real. You lost.
You lost.
You lost.
You lost. Fine.
You know what's funny about me, though, is like people make it their life's mission to beat me at stuff. Like,
oh, I know. I want to beat you so badly.
It's so hilarious to me.
And then that one hole that I got it and like I messed up too many times and you were right there watching me on purpose.
Oh yeah.
Not because you wanted to be close to me, but because you want to put the pressure.
Well, are they mutually exclusive ideas?
I think in that situation, he's like, this is gonna be a tough shot. Don't hit it too hard. I think when you say stuff like that, you're not actually trying to help me. I feel like you're just trying to put it in my head. So then I'm like, oh yeah, I can't hit it too hard. So then I boop and it rolls.
Yeah, that's all the SJWs need. That right there. Yes, call it the SWAT team. Black guy, gun.
No.
Oh gosh, we need to get to this review.
Okay, let's do it.
We want to maintain our subscribers. Slipknot duality. Let's
all
do
right,
it.
Take it away and go.
I push my fingers into my eyes. It's the only thing that slowly stops the ache. But it's made of all the things I have to take. Jesus never lands. It works its way inside. If the pain goes on. I have gotta say, and then I swear I'll go away, but I can't promise you'll enjoy the noise. I guess I'll save the best for last. My future seems like one big past. You're left with me cause you left me no choice. I push my fingers into my eyes. It's the only thing that slowly stops me. If the pain was on, I'm not gonna make it. Put me back together, or separate the skin from bone. Leave me all the pieces, then you can leave me alone. Tell me the reality is better than the dream, but I found out the hard way. Nothing is what it seems. I push my fingers into my eyes. It's the only thing that slowly stops me. But it's made of all the things I have to take. Jesus, it never ends. It works its way inside. If the pain goes on, I'm not gonna make it. All I've got is insane. 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 I push my fingers into my eyes. It's the only thing that slowly stops me. But it's made of all the things I have to take. Jesus, it never ends. It works its way inside. If the pain goes on, I'm not gonna make it.
Why are you laughing?
I laughed because every time they banged on that big drum, bang!
It's not a drum.
Well, it wasn't a drum. It was like a big
a
metal.
big steel thing of just dumbness.
They do call them a drum, the big metal drum. Not a drum like a musical instrument, but they do call it that.
That's true. They do call
So
it
they take
that.
me and bang on it, bang! And then he takes the whole thing and he freaking throws it, bang! But again, that's that teenager stuff that I like. And then they're like jumping through
Yeah,
the
but he's a
ceiling.
grown ass man.
Yeah, I know, I get that.
I think
but
his name is Chris Fane. I think his name is. It's a big Slipknot cultist back in the day. So like, I the person I was with at the time was like a huge Slipknot fan, and I used to say, "What the fuck is the purpose of the guy that just like, how much fucking talent do you need?" Like she was legit like trying to like
Yeah, for some
explain to
reason.
me that you need a lot of talent. You know that she was like the timing. You have to time it perfectly to.
oh, I just think it's fun.
Okay.
Bang!
All right. I'll tell you what though, it does a hell of a lot for the live show.
Yeah.
If it was just a regular 4-piece
Oh,
band like
man.
everybody else.
Yeah.
But when you see Slipknot live and you see all those people and you're in the front row, that's a fucking experience. I'll tell you.
I bet it is.
I'll tell you what. I've seen Korn live, front row, front stage. I've seen Slipknot live, and both of those guys, when they're on,
Ridiculous.
forget it.
Ugh.
Forget it.
I've missed so much.
You have. I think we'll probably make it to a Korn show. Inshallah.
Oh.
Inshallah. Shout out to the big homie Darren.
Yep.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Appreciate you.
Okay, what'd you think of this song?
Well, I just like Slipknot.
Yeah, you're
I'm definitely a fan.
You're a maggot.
I'm not gonna call myself a maggot.
Okay, Mr. SJW. If Slipknot calls my girl a maggot, is
No.
that okay? But if I
No.
call you a maggot, it's bad.
No, I'm not
the
letting
little-
anybody call me a
The little
maggot.
white guy, Corey Taylor, calls you a maggot, it's okay.
No, I'm not letting him call me a maggot either. Nobody's calling me a maggot.
I used to say, do you know what that is? It's a fucking baby fly. I was so petty back in the day. Oh my god.
It's a baby fly. No, I would just say that crawls around on dead bodies. I hate maggots. They're so nasty.
They eat fruits. Maggots eat fruits too. All right, what'd you think of the song?
I liked it. Of course, I don't know what he was singing about. It seems like I know I heard a lot about pain and what he's doing to push his fingers into his eyes. The only thing that stops the ache. But it's made of all the things I have to take. So basically, he's taking a lot of shit from somebody. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It never ends. It works its way inside. If the pain goes on,
He said, Jesus, it never ends.
yeah.
How were you interpreting that Jesus? Were you interpreting it as using the Lord's name in
It was
vain?
both for me. It was
Yeah.
like a curse, but at the same time, a cry out for help.
Right. I feel like it was very Corey is a very intelligent writer.
Yeah.
Obviously not Danny Filth, because Danny Filth is the greatest writer of all time in metal. There's no close second. We've already established that. That's
Have established that.
That's a fact. This is a case closed. But
Don't do that. Somebody's gonna come out to my defense.
Corey,
Let me speak
stop
my
saying,
mind.
Stop saying that. I'm gonna keep laughing. Okay, so I think because he's so intelligent as a writer,
Yeah.
I feel like it's a cry out to God, but it's placed in such a way that a person could not look at it that way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no reason to invoke Jesus in that thing. Like, but I get it. Like, a person could say, you know, and I haven't looked at the whole Corey Taylor corpus of literature as far as, especially as it relates to Slipknot. Maybe even references Jesus a lot. I'm not sure, but I up to this point had never heard him like explicitly refer to Jesus like that, and you never hear people just offhandedly mention Jesus' name. So maybe it's just, you know, confirmation bias or whatever on my part, but I do think it was some sort of a
cry out?
A cry to God at some level, you know. Okay, so I pushed my fingers into my eye. You know, it's interesting, like, I told you this, like, when I was a kid, I used to have these terrible migraines. I still do. I still have them. Like, you'll see me do this thing.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it does, like, give some sort of relief. Like, the pressure on top of the eye, you know?
Yeah.
We were in, when I was in the hospital, they were talking about stress-induced headaches, and they would say if you press down here for 15 seconds, it will relieve your headache or whatever.
I thought it was here.
Well, it could be here. Maybe I was doing it wrong the entire time.
Oh, pretty sure it's here.
I was too hopped up on
Yeah.
all the shit that they were giving me to be able to
Did
really
it?
tell the
Oh, so it
difference.
never worked for you.
I mean, I couldn't tell the difference. How could you know? Like, your body's being flooded with these
Yeah.
crazy... I mean, I was on some hardcore shit, you know? So it's like... Anyway, I push my fingers into my eyes. It's the only thing that stops the ache. So it's like...
So you thought of a headache when you...
I'll tell you what. In life, there is nothing worse than a migraine headache. Nothing.
I mean, I've gotten a pretty bad headache, but I'm not sure it was... Like, migraine level is, you know, people feel like... No, I think once I got a pretty bad headache, but...
Migraines are like when you see shit and it's like... Phew, you see like these sharp flashing lights.
Yeah.
Me, I can't even open my mouth. I can't talk. I can't hear words.
Oh.
No,
Has it ever gotten that bad around me?
No.
I was like, I don't ever remember
No,
getting
this
like
is when
that.
I was a real, like, small kid. And I remember, like, there was one really, really, really bad one. It was just, like, terrible. I wanted to die. I was, like, 9, 10 years old. And I was, like, telling my mom, I'm like, get me out of here.
Wow.
Yeah,
Do you
it
think
was
that
bad.
has anything to do with the stress from your upbringing? Or do you think that it has anything to do with your... Yeah, I think you have a very big brain, like growing pains for your brain.
I think probably A was probably true. I was very stressed out as a kid. There's a lot of, like, moving pieces and a lot of changes that would happen, like, and I didn't understand that this is a cycle. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't get that it was a cycle. It was, you know, I was just like, oh, you know, I just felt kind of like after a while I could say, oh.
Is that why you're so quick to say, no, this is a phase, and people
yeah.
come out of it and stuff like that. It's not always going to be forever.
Yeah, it's I figured out, like, if I could pull out of the situation and look at the patterns of what's happening with people, I could go, okay, you can expect this from this person in the next 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if we're running into a situation or you go, okay, is this a pattern of this person?
Yeah.
And if it is, then I don't say it's a phase.
Oh.
You know what I mean? I don't do that.
Yeah.
But if it's not, then I'll say, okay, mathematically, we've got some odds of a good future here with, this or that situation. But, so the metaphor, I'm looking at this as like a metaphor of a headache, and it's debilitating. And it's true, like, if the pain goes on, I'm not going to make it. Like, I felt like that. Like, I really did as a kid with the headache. And of course, like, we talk about psychosoma, where I think the Greek word in the New Testament for soul is psychikos, or psychos, or, from whence we get the term psychology.
Yeah.
And we talk about psychological, it's the biblical term for soulological. And it talks, and so soma is also the Greek word for body. So when you say somebody has a psychosomatic symptom, you're saying that there is a soul issue that is being
their body,
manifesting in their body, and many times the headache is the first one. People talk about stress headaches.
I think that a lot of times I think that fibromyalgia is one of those things where they doctors can't really nail it down, can't really explain it. Just,
I'll tell you what, when I was at the hospital, that was huge. Everybody had headaches or fibromyalgia.
Yeah.
No, I'm not kidding.
Yeah. No, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all.
And it was.
And the thing is, because they can't really nail it down, it seems like it's not really there. It seems like the person's making something up or whatever.
Right.
But they're literally physically having so much pain in their bodies. But I think
totally incapacitated.
Yeah.
And it was very strange the way that the doctors would engage because I was in a mental hospital. I mean, I don't.
You don't hide that, yeah.
I don't hide that, but we also have like 3,000 new viewers, and so
right, and not everybody knows.
So not everybody knows, but yeah, I was 16, 17, around there. I did about 6 months in a mental hospital, like complete breakdown. God's grace, I'm like much better now, but like the way that the doctors would engage the people who said that they had fibromyalgia was extremely interesting, because it's not what you would expect. The majority of the time, when you would have people that would have these like delusions of grandeur, like that the FBI was after them or something like that, and it was kind of like this like very dismissive, oh yeah, sure, just take your medicine and sit down. Oh, thank you for sharing it. But like
thank you for sharing.
Yeah. But when the fibro people would talk about their pain and things like that, the doctors were like they were the most intense with them than anybody else.
They were trying to figure it out.
So with the delusional people, they were like, yeah, and then with people like me, where they just basically said you have environmental problems, and they would listen to you, but there was not a lot of intensity, because they pretty much had you pegged, like, you have an environmental problem. If we get you out of the environment and get your chemicals right, you'll be fine.
Yep.
The fibro people, they were very like,
interesting.
It seems like they were still, like, the jury wasn't out on the issue. You know what I mean? So like to this day, like, I don't have an opinion on it. I just know that everybody, that I've ever seen complain about fibro has also been under extremely stressful circumstances.
Right, yeah.
Extremely stressful circumstances.
Yep. These are the ones that I've known.
So then when you say, okay, that's a psychosomatic issue, like, people think that you're discounting that their issue is real.
Yeah. But
When you say, oh, it's psychosomatic, people, oh, it's not. It's real. We're just saying that the locus of your problem is not physical. It's your soul.
Right. The cure is not going to be fixing your body. The cure is dealing with the soul issues.
Right.
Yeah.
But because, it's a very strange, here's my obligatory Jordan Peterson. Speaking of Jordan Peterson, I'm not gonna say his name, but these people that message me and say Jordan Peterson is a hack who doesn't know what he's talking about. Jordan Peterson first of all, he's a doctor in his field. Second of all, he's been footnoted 10,000 times. Like before he became an internet celebrity, the guy was in the top 1% of his field and his discipline.
Yeah.
So for any of you who've you're not a doctor of anything and you've never been, look, I've been footnoted. Right?
Oh yeah.
In some real serious shit.
Yep.
For you to never have produced anything to say that Jordan Peterson's a hack. Look, and now somebody's gonna say argument from authority. I'm not arguing from authority. All I'm saying is you don't get to say he's a hack if you don't. If Peterson has more education in his pinky finger than you do, you don't get to call him a hack. You can say you disagree with him.
Yeah.
You could say that he's wrong.
Yep.
And all that learning doesn't mean that he's right. I agree with you. There's things I disagree with Dr. Peterson on. Collective guilt, for example, is something I completely disagree with him on. But you can't call him a hack. Anyway, now that we've established that, it's funny to me. You'll hear me laugh.
I know. He'll bust out laughing. I'm like, what? And then he'll tell me, oh, this person is saying this or that thing about, but it is weird. How are you just some regular guy?
You're some regular Joe.
But you're gonna make a judgment call on this. Well,
he's quoting Dostoevsky and Solzhenitsyn verbatim.
I know.
I looked that shit up.
It's verbatim.
And it's off the top of it.
I was going to say,
when
he talks about
I quote the Bible.
You know how some people will quote stuff, but they're hesitant or they mess it up, or they'll be you can tell that they're struggling to pull that information forth. It's not. It's
part of his essence.
The way that I say, so I had salmon for supper, and it was on a bed of rice, and the way that I could pull that information, he's pulling this crazy stuff.
Yeah,
Solzhenitsyn's
And then I'll say, have you read any of these people? My mom had me read Solzhenitsyn when I was in high school to punish me because the book on the Gulag was this thick. So I had it for punishment. I didn't realize the significance of what I was reading at all.
Did you, so you didn't rebel against the reading? You actually learned from it?
Well, the thing is, my mom, is naturally curious. There were things outside when I was 15 that I would much rather have been engaging in. But she also knew I was extremely curious. So I was Gulag Archipelago. I never pronounced that properly. And that, that interested me a ton. This idea that, because I never really got introduced to, the USSR and what communism actually fucking did to the world. You get fucking disappeared overnight. Phew, they'd snatch you up. Boom, there you go.
That's so scary.
There you go. They'd snatch all your shit, and they had all their. And the crazy thing was, they had these perfect justifications. We're off topic. Okay, so Peterson was talking about the dilemma of pain and suffering in the world.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how that relates to mythology. So for one example was the Hydra. You chop off the Hydra's head, but then boom, 7 more come in its place. And so the idea was, pain and problems are always going to happen, and the minute that you defeat one problem, another one springs up. And so there's this sort of existential question of, what do you do about that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so the nihilists were saying, well, just quit. Why chop off the Hydra's head? Just quit, just give up, just die and end existence, And Peterson was saying, it is logical and rational to say just quit and die, and all of us should die. He said that's rational. He said, as a matter of fact, it's probably more rational to say quit than keep going. Because if you have this idea that you chop off a head and then 7 more problems come up, and you chop off one of those heads and 7 more come up,
stop chopping.
Then you're in this endless loop. And so so Peter said a lot of what he was saying was trying to find meaning in the act of overcoming all of these problems, knowing full well that more problems are going to keep coming to you. And that
did he have a solution?
Peterson talks a lot about the burden of existence, and he fascinates me because he has this the skeletal understandings of a Christian worldview, but he's not a Christian. So
Yeah.
he points out all these problems with existence, but he doesn't have an ultimate solution. So no, there was no real. I mean, basically what he said was chopping the head off continuously for the rest of your life was a virtue, but he never explained why that was a virtue. At least not in that lecture.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me that when I look at the video, so I'm hearing him talk about all these problems in the song and the pain and the suffering and all this, right? And then I see the kids, you know, because now he's our age and these kids are 17, 18.
Yeah.
And like he was, you know, the song is complaining. You can look at the song as a complaining, and there's nothing really empowering about it. As a matter of fact, it's like, I'm not going to make it, and the only thing I have is insanity left.
Yeah.
But when you see all these kids around and they're appreciating the music, and you can
They
tell
look like
that
they're having fun with each other too.
they're having fun
Like
with
they came through the ceiling. With,
Right.
It was two boys that came through the ceiling, or two
Right.
men. I don't know. They, boys in my category, but they came falling. You know.
apparently, like, this was done at a fan's house, and like they
Oh
had
my
to,
gosh.
yeah, they had to pay like the house like $50,000 or something like that because they fucked up the house. Right? But it's like, so on the one hand, it's like, oh, it's all this suffering, it's meaningless suffering, but at the same time, the suffering created this kind of love and community that they
Yeah.
had with one another, which is basically the village. Like I've never seen anybody in our village. Facebook.com /Vid. I don't know if our website's up yet. It's still 404.
Everybody keeps saying it's having a hard time still.
That's all right. It's all right.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. But I've never seen anybody in the village say, I've had a perfect life.
Yeah. He said he has to enter everybody in manually, so go through the steps to get in, and then it'll put you on a list to get in manually.
It's like, nobody's had a perfect life.
No, nobody said, yeah.
Yeah, but there's a real sense of community. Like, there is no online community like the village.
I would agree with that.
Period. People like putting it on the line for each other that they don't even know. Like, but so it's a very interesting thing to me when you're like, okay, why keep cutting off the Hydra?
Yeah.
Why not give up? And so Peterson was talking about, you know, that there's virtue in being a person who will continue to fight and all that, and so he's very focused on the individual because communism's focused on the collective.
Okay.
And I think because of that, he misses out on what suffering does to the collective.
Collective, yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is, it creates things like that where people are together and they appreciate the music and, you know, they love each other and all this, and that, or create situations like the village.
Yeah.
Where people are, you know, and it's like, okay, like, let's chop off the Hydra's head together, and we know that there's gonna be another head or whatever of this whatever.
But we're gonna war
But
together.
we're gonna do it together.
Yeah.
Right? And you know, you
Yeah.
find each other on the beach and say, oh, you look like you got fucked
Yeah.
up by the Hydra today. Let me help you. And,
Yeah.
and so it creates. I was reading this book one time. It was by, remember that funky Christian dude, and you thought he was weird, and he talked about community versus communitas, and he actually brought up a mosh pit. The community, he said, is like a golf course, like a country club.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, "Boop, hey, Charles," and
Yeah.
no disrespect to the golf course people.
Yeah.
You know, but communitas, he said, was like a mosh pit, and everybody's sweating, and there's a bit of suffering, and there's togetherness, and he's like, that's what you want. So he's like, if you want to build a church, create it around some form of mutual suffering. And then he talked about the New Testament. What do you see in the New Testament? A bunch of fucking mutual suffering. And
Yeah.
getting chopped up and sent into the arena. Good night. And you see this with war. You see guys leave
Oh.
combat situations and say they wish they could go back because everything was so simple. That was your guy. That was your guy.
Yep.
You die for him, he died for you, you kill all bad guys, and then
Yep.
you feel the collective guilt about it, move on, and whatever. That level of suffering can't be replicated in a regular community.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so so he's talking about, you know, the pain, but he's talking about it as an individual. But what's interesting is he's talking to someone, right? Like, as he says,
Where? Put me back together or separate the skin from bone.
I've left behind this little known fact: you cannot kill what you did not create. I've got to say what I've got to say. He's talking to someone.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, it's interesting looking at the video, and then the concept of pain and trying to overcome pain.
Yeah.
You know, but the pain is never ending. Not that the specific thing that caused you pain is never ending, but that once you solve that problem, like Biggie talked about it, more money, more problems. So when he was poor, he would say, you know, no heat, wonder why Christmas missed us. So like, you don't have any heat, Christmas time comes around, you don't get any presents, so now you're poor. So then he gets a record deal, becomes rich. What's the next song he comes out with? More money, more problems. So the thing that solved the solution before became the problem the next time. So like, suffering is going to be never ending, right?
Yep.
Like in this side of the world, this side of heaven, whatever you want to call it.
Do you think that's because nothing is meant to be our savior except for God? So when you think the money, he keeps thinking the money's going to be the thing because that's why there's no heat, that's why there's no Christmas. Then he gets the money doesn't save him like he thinks it is. So now the money's you know what I mean? Like maybe that's why we think that there's always more and more problems is because we keep looking for a savior in things.
Well,
or do you think even...
Yes and no, because I think people have that experience with Jesus.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I don't think that, especially the way Christians present Jesus, and we are obviously Christians, I don't think a lot of the way that we present Jesus prepares people for the type of life that being a Christian actually entails. You know, so it's like...
Yeah.
And that's, you'll hear people say they're angry at God, this and this happened, so they're done with God, and da-da-da-da, and it's like, when did Jesus ever say that everything was going to go good for you? When did he say that you weren't going to lose family members? When did he say that?
Right. When did he say you were going to keep your health?
Yeah, when did he say you were going to keep your health? I mean, the thing about Jesus is like, and I've had these conversations where it's like, I didn't put that in fine print. Like, take up your cross and follow me. Doesn't mean a cessation of pain. It actually means that it says follow me, which means that your life is actually like a trek toward an execution.
Yeah.
So like the death on the cross is almost like a welcome thing because carrying a cross means you've already been scourged.
Yeah.
Right? Like they would scourge you to kind of soften you up so that you weren't resistant, so that you were pretty much half dead due to hypovolemic shock, so that you wouldn't, fight, because I mean, if they ever wondered how people just stayed there and let themselves get nailed to a cross, good night. So it's like it's like, and I've had these conversations when I'm like, yo, how could this? And he's like, what are you talking about? What did you think was gonna happen? Like, here, but it has created a communitas with me and him if you learn to manage the pain properly.
Yeah.
And so like the reference to Jesus, I think, is extremely clever. If not from Corey's side, at least from Jesus' side.
Right. Yeah.
Say that. Mm-hmm. Like, what?
Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that. I think to answer your question, I think that it happens a lot in the bad way with Jesus, where it's like you become a Christian or whatever, and then shit gets like amped up and it gets worse, actually.
Yeah, a lot of people say that.
Yeah, some of it's sociological. Like, for example, you've got friends that used to slam heroin and cocaine with. Well, obviously, you're not going to do that anymore. Well, that's going to create sociological issues for you, because guess what? You live in an environment where everybody's slamming heroin and cocaine. Oh, you used to be a prostitute. This guy's making all this money off of you. Now you're following Jesus. You're not going to do that.
Right. Or you and your friends had certain mindsets and thoughts about the world and how it came into existence and everything, and now all of a sudden you have a different mindset, so the camaraderie that you had before is now lost.
Right, the tolerant,
the
so-called tolerant secularists that you, shout out to Mayhem and their fans, all of a sudden the open-minded secularists are no longer friendly with you once you start. We saw that with people. They weren't even saying anything controversial. It was just, I love Jesus, blah, blah, blah. And then people were like, if you don't stop putting Jesus on your own Facebook. So yeah, I agree. It's like, this is a very interesting song because of the
It's always crazy too when people are posting stuff on their Facebook page that is immoral or is just crazy, and then all of a sudden, but nobody says, nobody said anything to them. But then all
Right,
of a
it's
sudden,
like-
and
be
some
who you-
people
be
are
who
putting
you
like
are.
some mad destructive stuff that they're doing in
yeah.
their lives.
Bunch of evil
and
shit.
nobody's saying a word.
Bunch of
and
evil
then the
shit.
minute they want to put something on Jesus, they're like, "Why would you stop with your Bible stuff?"
yeah, with
It's
your
like,
Bible bashing. Yeah, that's right.
well, I'm just concerned about you as a person because I'm afraid you're getting brainwashed. You're like,
Yeah, because you're not.
you weren't concerned about the other stuff.
Yeah, when they were.
That was
she almost
obviously-
died
I could've died, yeah.
She died. She did. She almost died of alcohol poisoning. Girl was like 42 pounds.
Right.
She was slamming out that
Right.
vodka like she was
Right, exactly.
Vladimir Putin. Shout out to the Russians. We are slaying everybody in this video.
But we still love you, Pony, Cassandra.
Leave me all the pieces, and you can leave me alone. See, there it is. The alone thing.
Yeah.
Like it's gay. We're not built for aloneness.
It's what? Did you say it's what?
the alone thing.
Yeah.
We're not built for aloneness. We're not built to be alone.
Oh.
I think Peterson's right in the sense that there is virtue in continuing to pick up the sword and slay the Hydra, even
Yeah.
though you know that there's another head coming. But I think he misses the value of
That
the
element
collective,
of it,
the
yeah.
communitas, and that you gotta. It's like Otep said in the interview. You gotta find your tribe.
I really liked her.
And the people who find their tribe do okay. Mm-hmm. They do okay. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't need to be a big tribe. You just got to find a group of like-minded people who want to slay that particular
Yeah.
head of the Hydra. For us, we have you guys. So we needed a break from the other stuff. Anyway, what do you give the song?
Yeah. 8.5. 8.
It's a very short song.
Yeah, it was very
So
short.
I can't give it anything other than a 7.
It was very short.
And the riff was dun, 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 dun.
I really like that guy's voice.
Corey?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got an amazing voice.
It's very unique.
I want you to hear him live because he does it good live. When Slipknot first started, not so much.
Really.
Not so much.
They came into themselves as they went.
The music was so intense that he didn't know how to pace himself. Like, with breathing,
Yeah.
you see me like when we laid down the track for Breathe.
I know, yeah.
Like a couple people were saying like you're breathing, you get your
Yeah,
breath
you-
control, and I thought I did okay with breath control. So can you imagine doing hyper intense
No.
music and then you're running around and
No.
screaming and singing and all that? Like he didn't know how to pace himself in a live show. Now he knows. Like you can see like before the singing parts come, he slows down and then he's stationary and all the rest of it. Like,
Yeah. That makes sense. Some of them though, they're
have to balance
moving all over the place when they're doing their vocals. Who was it? It was that girl. Ah, damn, I don't remember which one it was. Was it the Jinger song? There was like,
Pisces, Ginger.
was that the one like where she kind of kept getting up on that thing and then she'd get down and she'd like go all over the place?
Yeah.
But her voice stayed like perfect. I
Yeah.
was like, how?
Yeah.
Shoot,
Yeah.
I climbed the stairs and I'm all.
Stop it.
I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, like jumping all around like that and still having to keep a key.
Shout out to the big homie Charlie Moon. I'm looking at her picture right now. How you doing?
I look at her every show we do. I always
know.
glance over at her whole smiling face.
I got a picture of the big homie. I put it on my. Lindsay Scowcraft was like, "Is that your daughter? She's precious." No, it's like, well, she's kind of like my village.
Yeah.
My village daughter. Anyway, all right. What do you got? 7?
No, I think you gave it a 7.
Oh, I gave it a 7.
And I
I'm
gave it an 8.
Secretly trying to oppressively suggest my number to you. I'm gonna read you those things.
You should. You should have already.
I should have run up there. All right, you get an 8.
Yeah.
7. Fit out.
Sorry out.
Down. What's up, Charlie Moon? Cheer up.
It's the only thing that slowly stops the age. it's made of all the things I have to take.